Welcome back everyone. So I thought I would share today with you how I edit. It's a difficult one for me to show you this because this is me sat at home at my desk in my dining room where my desk is. It's not that I've dragged my desk into somewhere where, you know what I mean. Normally I would do this obviously on site, I'd be in a media center somewhere or that kind of thing, but I'm going to run through and basically screen share with you how I edit photos so that you can see what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, and how I'm doing it really. So what I've done is I have picked out 5 images from the World Championships in Lausanne for 2019 for World Triathlon. These are images that I actually didn't edit, I think. Not be sure. These are either ones that I have included in the mix with World Triathlon and stuff, or ones that were kind of like a frame back. But these are definitely ones that I've not really shared online. And they have all been reset to how they came out of camera if I have edited anything. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this all makes sense. So I've got 5. I've got 5. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to really quickly run through with you how I edit them. So what you'll see is that I've got them in the library module, and normally 9 times out of 10 for a race, for an event, my preset will get installed and loaded with my initial load preset, and I've assigned that to 1, and I meant to do that to all of them, so let's do it again. So basically what that does is a few different things. That will mean that I've got all the auto settings applied. I've got auto settings applied to all the images that I'm working on. What that does is that basically lets Lightroom, which is an insanely clever program by the way, figure out what the best option is for that. It then adds a little bit of dehaze, a little bit of contrast. It adds a curve, which I'll show you in a minute. It also adds my metadata preset, which is down here, which basically includes the base metadata that I apply to all images, which is just basically my copyright and stuff, and then I will go in and individually metadata tag images if I want to. I'll do a video on meta tagging and metadata probably at some point, maybe, I don't know, who cares? You care, you might care, I don't know, but it's not a huge thing for me. Anyway, so that all gets applied. Then what also gets applied for this is a little bit of sharpening, a little bit of noise reduction, not a whole a lot, but enough. The one thing that I haven't got on this preset, which I keep having to add manually, is lens correction. So I'll just quickly add those now. If you haven't done lens corrections before, they're really, really important. It's always worth checking that enabling profile corrections is on. And then all you do is select the make of lens that it is, and 9 times out of 10 it figures it out. And look at the difference that kind of like makes straight away. And kind of like just, it sorts the vignette out and it sorts any bowing out, which is really, really cool, especially if you're working at 24mm, which I think this is what's shot. But what we'll do is we'll sync that to everything. I think I just need to, we'll do that individually because the screen recorder that I'm doing is not allowing me to do it. So anyway, this is the first image. As you can see, all the auto stuff's been assigned, which is, I'm kind of happy with that. 9 times out of 10 auto gets it right. It's not often that it gets it wrong for me really in the way that I work. One thing I didn't mention was that it adds a little bit of vibrancy in my preset as well, because I like a little bit of vibrant colour. I don't touch saturation because saturation makes stuff look a little bit glossy and silly, but vibrance seems to really work. There is a difference between vibrance and saturation. I'm not going to go into it here, it's very technical, use Google. So what I would normally do from this point, first thing I notice this needs to have is the horizon reset and straightened out. If you haven't come across this technique before, go and have a look at the 5 things that's stopping you being a good photographer video, or whatever I called it at the time, which talks about straightening images. This image is off, and I know this image is off because I can see it. So I just draw a line against the horizon is usually the way I do it, and then it will figure it out, and then that crops it. The only downside with that really is that now along the bottom the pontoon's not straight, but that's an angle that I was sat at. So I mean, you can try and transform it and see whether it will figure it out, which it kind of does, but it kind of takes away the stuff that I've just done. So you need to make a decision really as to what's more important to you. Is it a case that the pontoon line is more important than the horizon, or the horizon line? For me, It's all about the horizon line. That for me needs to be straight, otherwise what's the point? So yeah, base edit is in, the tone curve is in. It's only a medium contrast curve, but it works for me and I really like it. What I would do for this, really, I like the fact that the sun's rising in the background. I kind of want a little bit more of a silhouette. The way I apply silhouettes usually is by adjusting the blacks and bringing them down a bit, and maybe just bringing the exposure down. What you don't want to do is you don't want to like bring so much blacks in that you lose the effect and it gets a bit silly. But you also want to maintain some of the detail in the swimmer. Like, it's cool to be a silhouette, but it's not a brilliantly white lake that she's diving into. So you need to kind of keep a little bit of her body shape and the light that's coming off, that's coming from the sun that's hitting her, so it just kind of makes it nice. So that's really where I would go. Maybe a little bit of colour. I would probably worth me looking at and playing with a graduated filter across the top of the sky, because sometimes that's quite nice. That seems to be. Sometimes I'll add a little bit of dehaze in just to like darken it down a little bit more, but I kind of like that. I can't remember what the shortcut key for, oh no, that's not right. So that's the edit. That's what it looked like before. It's quite nice out of camera. I'm not going to say it's a bad photo out of camera, but that's where I would edit it to, and where I would go. Quite like that one. So this is the next photo. This is a swim exit for one of the junior lady races by the looks of it, from Lausanne. Again, first thing for me, a big one, I mean the auto preset's on, but first edit that I would do for me, one that I just feel isn't right, is that horizon there. So just using that straightening tool. You can do it by eye. I prefer to not do it by eye, it just gets really difficult otherwise. So for me, looking at this now, the focus for this isn't like bang on. You've not got like a tack sharp swimmer here or a tack sharp athlete there. It's just sort of a general exposure. So for me, I would again go with that kind of like silhouette feel, and try and draw that out a little bit more. Probably need a touch more colour for me. One thing I don't like is this here. So I'll use the kind of like clone tool and the remove tool and stuff just to get rid of that, which looks like it was something on my lens, to be fair, and that will then figure itself out. 9 times out of 10 that works, don't usually have a problem with that. So I kind of like that, I'm not gonna lie, it's good. Let's get rid of those. On to the next one. So again, bike shot, I like this one. I was playing with, these are what I would call like reverse pans, because a normal panning shot is, and a motion shot is drawing the camera through with the athlete. But for me, I've liked playing with the, let's get the background and let's find an identifiable thing and then have a athlete move through that shot, which is kind of cool. It's just a nice way to do it. I kind of like this. I don't think it needs a lot, maybe a little bit of blacks, maybe a touch more colour just to bring it out a little bit. What I am going to do is I'm going to darken the gravel down, I'm going to darken the road down just a touch, because what I want you to do is I want your eye to be drawn into the Triathlon Live banner, which is the focus for that photo. So it's really important that kind of makes sense. And again, up here with a little bit of a darker filter. What I'm going to do, no, it's fine. What I will do, however, I was going to change the colours a little bit, but I'm not going to bother. One thing I'm going to do, however, is I'm going to use the erase brush on the graduated filter, because what I've done, by drawing the filter down across the image, what it's done is it's darkened the trees down, which seems a bit unnatural. So I'm then going to brush back over those trees and bring that exposure back on the tree, and all you're doing is basically just removing the filter that you've just applied to that bit that you're brushing over. So it does make quite a big difference. I kind of like that. One thing I have noticed, which I don't like, here is a bit of dust spot. Don't quite like that. So again, a relatively quick edit. It doesn't take me long to edit images, particularly of races and events. I'm trying to get stuff right in camera as much as I can, because otherwise really, what's the point? Like, if you're going to spend 4 hours editing 50 photos, then you're missing the boat for getting images back out there quickly to the world, which is what people want to see after an event. So here we are again. This is off of one of the bridges across the main road. Our hotel was up here somewhere from memory. So I'm going to darken it down just a touch. I like it. I don't want to lose the riders by bringing too much of the exposure down, and then you kind of lost it then. I kind of want them to be bright. I want them to have a little bit. What I will probably do, I'll probably edit this more than I normally would, to be fair. Make that brush a touch bigger. Always make sure when you've got an adjustment brush or something on that you use auto mask. What that does is it basically it will stick to the subject that the Lightroom will try and figure out the subject that you're trying to brush over, and it will tend to leave everything else. So I'm just going to kind of like brush over all of this because I kind of want this lot here to be dark. Sometimes my Mac is a bit on the slow side and it will pick it up eventually. But once you've brushed all of that in, you'll see that by putting the mask overlay on, you can see you've pretty much covered that. What I'm going to do while I'm here is I'm going to do a new brush, and I'm going to get this down in here as well. Because what I want to do is I want to highlight that strip of road where those athletes are coming through, and kind of like darken it's dodging and burning basically. It's darkening down the dark bits and lightening up the light bits, although I'm not going to lighten them a huge amount because they're already pretty light. And there's no real precision in what I do. I mean, I'd love to sit here and say that, oh yeah, it's precise to the pixel and blah, blah, blah. But actually all I'm doing is just making it darker and making it lighter, and it's not about pixel perfect for me, it's about it looking cool. So you'll see now I've kind of brushed over that, I can really kill that off and make it really dark. One thing you have to be careful of, however, is that you don't take it too far, because then it becomes a bit unnatural. There's some very good photographers out there who use dodging and burning in sport and make it look really natural and stuff, and that's ace, but that isn't unfortunately me. So I would say, like, from the original edit to this one, I'm actually quite happy with that. I'll tell you one thing I haven't done is put my lens corrections on. Hasn't done a great deal. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So before, after, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with that, quite like that. Moving on to the last one. Yeah, the last one is, so this is Vincent Luis when he came in second, third, something like that, and won his world title. So I actually decided, rather than, so we had 4 photographers for that race, rather than sitting on the finish line with the rest of the team, I decided to go and stand up in the stands, so I get a bit of a different angle. It was really, I wanted all the crowd in front, but it was really hard to like pinpoint that one bit where he was. So it doesn't look straight for me, and I'm going to use that pillar there as a reference point because I remember it being straight. It wasn't a leaning post. So that kind of straightens things up a little bit better. Let's put lens corrections on, what I think about it. Okay, cool. Yeah, I kind of like it. I feel like he's a touch on the dark side. The dark side. But rather than, yeah, rather than move the exposure around too much, I'll brush into him because it'll be a bit better. So I'm less worried about Vincent right now, and I'm worried about the surrounding area and how that looks, and I kind of like that. However, I am going to put a grad filter through here because I want your eye to be drawn up into the image rather than into the crowd in front. Even though this dude's massive hand, which you could argue I could Photoshop out, but I'm not going to, primarily because of that rider there, that moto rider. There's no way I'm going to be able to like take the hand out. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is, and I would usually do this with my graphics tablet and pen, but it doesn't like it when I'm screen recording for some reason. So we'll just pull a few shadows up, and we'll zoom in on Vince a bit. Oh, look at the grit in his face. He loves it. So I'm just really carefully, and this will be really subtle because of the values that I've got. Come on, bouncing ball of death. Such a slow thing when I'm screen recording. Okay, so just really carefully, like brushing over him. Let's put the overlay on so I can kind of see it. I don't want particularly too much coverage, but I want just enough that you know it's there. Like I could go down and do his legs and stuff, but I'm not overly worried. What I'm more worried about is, turn the mask off, what I'm more worried about is that you just get a sense of kind of like where it is. So now when I zoom out, you can really see like the difference. I don't want to overexpose him to the point where it's silly. I just want him enough just to pop. Let's turn pins off because that pin's on his face. So that's better. So I like that. I like the feel of that. I would have loved to have had the guy's arm out the way, but you can't have that. So that's the before. That's the after. I like that. It's a bit of a nicer one. So those will be my 5 that I've edited. Hopefully this will have made some kind of sense, giving you a bit of a sneak peek into the way I edit. If you've got any questions, hit them up in the comment section below. More than happy to answer questions on editing and stuff. I know everybody's is different, and that's absolutely fine. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, give us a follow on Instagram. I do really appreciate it, and then you're not going to miss out on new stuff and new images, which will be really cool. Have an awesome day. If I haven't seen you before, have a wicked one.